Frank Hanebuth, an imposing 6.5 feet former boxer and one of the most feared biker gang leaders in Europe. From ruling Hanover's red light district, alongside Kurdish and Albanian mobs, to leading the Hells Angels Majorca chapter, Hanebuth's story is filled with violence, extortion, and high-stakes crime. A shadow of fear has fallen over Majorca, a once idyllic holiday destination, as the notorious Hells Angels motorcycle gang expands its reign of violence and extortion. Tourists and locals alike now find themselves on edge, with some admitting they live in fear of the gang's escalating influence on the sun-soaked Spanish island. The gang's operations in Majorca are spearheaded by Frank Hanebuth, a towering 6'5" German biker with a history as a professional boxer. Hanebuth's criminal legacy began in the 1990s when he rose to infamy as the leader of the Bones Motorcycle Club. His alliances with Kurdish and Albanian gangs gave him a stronghold over the Steintor red light district in Hanover, Germany. In 1999, he orchestrated the merger of the Bones with the Hells Angels, solidifying his power within the biker world. While he presented a facade of legitimacy through his security and gastronomy business in Hanover, authorities remained suspicious. His arrest by German special forces in 2012 on a manslaughter charge, which was eventually dismissed, only added to his notoriety. Since relocating to Majorca, Hanebuth has established himself as the president of the local Hells Angels chapter, leaving a trail of fear and chaos in his wake. Over the past decade, his gang's criminal activities have grown bolder, ranging from managing drug and prostitution rings to orchestrating brazen extortion schemes. The most recent incident occurred on March 19th in Palma, where the Hells Angels president and his right-hand man were involved in a violent attack on a local restaurant owner. Although officials did not explicitly name Hanebuth, the leader and his accomplice reportedly demanded €10,000 from the victim. During the assault, they tore a €7,000 gold chain from his neck before fleeing the scene. In early 2024, Spain witnessed the unfolding of a high-profile trial against the infamous Hells Angels motorcycle gang, where prosecutors aggressively pushed for a 13-year prison term and a hefty €4.2 million fine against the gang's notorious leader, Frank Hanebuth. This trial marked a significant chapter in Spain's battle against organized crime, shedding light on a sprawling network of illegal activities that had taken root on the sunny island of Majorca. Hanebuth's troubles began when he was arrested in July 2013, following a violent altercation sparked by a business dispute. A German national had reported being targeted by the Palma Beach chapter of the Hells Angels, a claim that led Spanish authorities to uncover a sinister underworld operation. The investigation revealed an elaborate network involving brothels, drug trafficking, and extortion rackets, all thriving in Majorca's bustling nightlife districts. The gang had been recruiting members from across Europe to bolster their criminal enterprise on the popular holiday island. When Hanebuth appeared in court on July 25, 2013, flanked by his two lawyers, he was confronted with a litany of charges. These included money laundering, extortion, pimping, illegal arms acquisition, robbery in tourist-heavy areas, and active membership in a criminal organization, the Hells Angels. His alleged offenses painted a grim picture of organized crime infiltrating the vibrant holiday scene of Majorca. Prosecutors argued that Hanebuth and other high-ranking members of the gang had not only orchestrated these crimes, but had also managed a prostitution ring and engaged in large-scale drug trafficking. Some of the accused faced the possibility of sentences as long as 38 years if convicted on all counts. While prostitution in Spain exists in a legal gray area, since 1995, paid sex has been considered a voluntary activity. Prosecutors contended that the Hells Angels exploited this ambiguity for profit. They alleged that prostitution was among the primary revenue streams for the gang's Majorca chapters. The group is said to have manipulated women into working in their brothels, forcing them to undergo cosmetic procedures to increase their market appeal. This level of control extended beyond the brothels themselves, as the women were allegedly tasked with scouting for new recruits and smuggling drugs and cash into and out of Spain. effectively turning them into unwilling participants in the gang's illicit trade. The Hells Angels' ambitions were not limited to traditional criminal enterprises. Prosecutors detailed how Hanebuth and his associates ventured into the real estate market, capitalizing on Majorca's and Ibiza's booming popularity among international investors. By securing properties in these highly sought-after locations, they intended to establish a more permanent and legitimate front for their operations, blending their underground activities with the mainstream business world. This strategic expansion into real estate highlighted the gang's adaptability and the complexity of their criminal network. The Majorca chapter of the notorious Hells Angels motorcycle gang, although primarily composed of German members, boasted a remarkably diverse and international roster. Recruits hailed not only from Germany but also from as far afield as the Dominican Republic, Morocco, and even the United Kingdom. This multicultural membership reflected the gang's expansive reach and influence, extending far beyond the borders of its home country. In the days leading up to the highly anticipated trial, Spanish special forces, working closely with German law enforcement, launched a sweeping crackdown on the gang's operations. The coordinated raids targeted multiple bars and apartments across Majorca, resulting in the arrest of over 20 Hells Angels members, most of whom were German nationals. The German newspaper Süddeutsche Zeitung reported on the large-scale operation, highlighting the decisive actions taken by the National Court in Madrid, the institution tasked with dismantling organized crime and gang networks in Spain. The Spanish Interior Minister described the operation as a significant blow to the gang's activities on the island. The raid was part of a broader initiative known as Operation Casablanca, which aimed to cripple the Hells Angels' grip on Majorca. According to the criminal indictment, the biker gang had been conducting a wide array of illegal activities on the island from 2009 until 2013, all under the leadership of their formidable boss, Frank Hanebuth. Before his arrest, Hanebuth had grand ambitions to expand his influence on the island through legitimate ventures. In 2013, police revealed his plans to construct a Formula One racing circuit in Majorca, a project that was to be funded by millions of pounds generated from the gang's illicit enterprises. Authorities believed the gang intended to launder their dirty money by investing it in seemingly legitimate businesses, including the high-profile racing track. During his 2013 court appearance, Hanebuth was asked directly by the judge about his role within the Hells Angels. Without hesitation, he boldly declared himself the president of the Majorca chapter, a statement that underscored his unshaken confidence despite the serious charges he faced. Hanebuth was not alone in the courtroom. He stood alongside 49 alleged associates from various countries, each accused of participating in the gang's extensive criminal network. While Hanebuth refused to negotiate a plea deal, at least 34 of his co-defendants chose a different path, opting to avoid prison by agreeing to pay fines. One prominent figure among them was Khalil Youssafi, who had been charged with serious offenses, including kidnapping, issuing threats, and drug trafficking. Despite facing a potential 38-year prison sentence, Youssafi secured his freedom by paying a relatively modest fine of €36,000. Another notable defendant was Paul Whitworth, a British associate of Hanebuth's. Prosecutors alleged that Whitworth maintained ties with the Adams family, also known as the Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate, a feared gang from the UK. His involvement further highlighted the international connections of the Hells Angels and the complexity of the case. Hanebuth's refusal to strike a plea bargain led to harsher treatment. After spending a month in solitary confinement, he was moved to standard custody in September 2013. In October of that year, he was transferred along with 17 other suspects to Madrid. By December, he found himself in the high-security wing of a prison in El Porta de Santa Maria, a facility in southern Spain known for housing dangerous criminals. When Frank Hanebuth returned to his hometown of Hanover, Germany, after his release, he was welcomed like a hero. The streets were filled with supporters and admirers who had gathered to catch a glimpse of the notorious biker gang leader. As he made his way through the crowds in a luxurious white limousine, the atmosphere was almost celebratory, with onlookers cheering and waving. It was as if a local celebrity or a rock star had returned home, rather than a man with a well-documented history of organized crime. This warm reception was not a one-time event. Similar scenes of admiration and spectacle unfolded in July 2017 when Hanebuth married his longtime partner, and Sarah Naumann. The wedding was nothing short of a grand affair, with Hanebuth dressed impeccably in a sharp black suit and a bow tie. His bride, a blonde beauty, wore a stunning gown with a plunging neckline that drew attention as they stood together at St. Michael's Church in Bissendorf, near Hanover. The wedding ceremony was a spectacle in itself, attended by 300 guests, with the kind of attention and fanfare usually reserved for the weddings of celebrities or high-profile socialites. The post-ceremony celebrations were equally lavish. The newlyweds made their entrance to the after-party in style, arriving in a gleaming white Rolls-Royce Ghost. The grandeur of the event was amplified by a convoy of 30 roaring Harley-Davidson motorcycles that led the way, their engines echoing through the small town. Behind them, bridesmaids rode in white stretch Hummers, adding to the procession's opulence. The sheer scale of the event required local authorities to close streets with little notice, rerouting traffic to accommodate the throngs of guests and curious onlookers who had gathered to witness the event. The normally quiet town of Bissendorf had become the backdrop for a wedding that felt more like a movie set than a real-life event. The victim of the violent assault, which was captured in disturbing surveillance footage, recently broke his silence and recounted the harrowing experience to local media. The restaurant owner described how the gang leader, a towering figure of intimidation, barged into his establishment and issued a chilling ultimatum. According to the victim, the biker boss delivered a stark warning: "If you want to keep the shop open, you have to pay us 10,000 euros. If you don't pay, you'll get in a lot of trouble." The menace behind these words was unmistakable, leaving the victim and his family trapped in a state of constant fear. The trauma of the attack has profoundly impacted the restaurant owner and his loved ones. He admitted that they are seriously contemplating selling their home and abandoning Majorca altogether. The island, once a haven for tourists and locals, has transformed into a landscape overshadowed by the Hells Angels' reign of terror. The family's sense of security has been shattered, and the weight of the gang's control over the area has become almost unbearable. The psychological damage far outweighs the physical injuries he sustained during the assault. The business itself has also suffered severe consequences. The owner noted that their once thriving restaurant, which primarily catered to German tourists and expatriates, is now struggling. Many of their regular customers are too afraid to return, worried that the restaurant could become the scene of another robbery or violent incident. The fear in the air is palpable, and the economic impact on the business is as severe as the personal toll on the owner's peace of mind. The unsettling atmosphere extends beyond this single establishment. In the aftermath of the attack, employees from other restaurants in the town have also expressed their unease about the biker gang's intimidating presence. One worker shared their daily reality with a Spanish news outlet, explaining how they and their colleagues try to remain inconspicuous whenever the gang members pass by. The tension is so thick it can almost be touched, and everyone knows to avoid drawing attention to themselves. The employee recounted a pattern of harassment that has become all too familiar. The gang members often enter bars, consume food and drinks, and then refuse to pay. If confronted, they respond with threats, leaving staff members feeling vulnerable and powerless. The situation has become increasingly dire, with the gang's behavior escalating from intimidation to outright extortion and violence. For many who work in the area, the presence of the Hells Angels has made life intolerable, and the sense of dread they feel every time the bikers come around is inescapable. Spanish authorities are taking the situation seriously. The national police have launched an investigation into the attack, meticulously reviewing the security footage that captured the violent episode. Law enforcement officials are not only focusing on this specific case, but are also broadening their inquiry to include other locations across the island that have reported similar encounters with the Hells Angels. The investigation aims to piece together the full extent of the gang's criminal activities and to bring those responsible to justice. The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, which originated in the United States back in 1948, has grown into a global network with an estimated 5,000 members spread across approximately 350 chapters worldwide. Each chapter operates semi-autonomously, allowing the gang to maintain a stronghold in numerous regions, including Majorca. The Majorca chapter was officially established in 2009, and since then, the gang's influence on the island has steadily increased. Their arrival marked the beginning of a period of heightened criminal activity, with extortion, violence, and drug trafficking becoming alarmingly commonplace. The growing influence of the Hells Angels on Majorca has not only impacted local businesses, but has also cast a shadow over the island's image as a popular holiday destination. Tourists and residents alike are caught in a cycle of fear and uncertainty, and the island's reputation as a safe and welcoming retreat is at risk. As the investigation continues, there is hope that Spanish authorities will succeed in curbing the gang's power and restoring a sense of normalcy to the community. However, until concrete action is taken, the specter of the Hells Angels will likely continue to loom over Majorca, leaving its mark on everyone who lives and works there.